In 2023, global sales of Korean food products crossed $12 billion, a figure that would have seemed impossible just 15 years earlier. At the turn of the millennium, Korean cuisine was largely unknown outside a handful of immigrant communities in Los Angeles, Tokyo, and a few other major cities. So what changed? The answer is not simply that the food got better. The food was always good. What changed was a deliberate, government-coordinated effort to turn fermented vegetables and spicy noodles into instruments of national strategy. This episode is the story of how that happened and why it worked. Consider the scale of what has happened. According to Korea's Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs, Korean food exports stood at roughly $1.6 billion in 2001. By 2023, that figure had grown more than sevenfold. Kimchi alone is now exported to over 100 countries, with the United States, Japan, and Australia among the largest markets, according to the Korea Agro-Fisheries and Food Trade Corporation. Instant noodle exports, think Samyang's Buldak brand, exceeded $1 billion in a single year for the first time in 2023, as reported by the Korea Customs Service. Meanwhile, the number of Korean restaurants operating outside Korea surpassed 90,000 worldwide by 2022, according to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. That is roughly triple the count from a decade prior. These are not accidental numbers. They trace the arc of a policy. The origin point is the Asian financial crisis of 1997. That shock forced South Korea to rethink its economic model entirely. In the years that followed, the government began investing heavily in cultural exports, what scholars now call the Hallyu or Korean wave strategy. Food was initially a secondary concern, trailing behind K-pop and film. But by 2010, policymakers recognized that food could function as an anchor for the entire cultural brand. That year, the government launched a formal Korean food globalization initiative under then-President Lee Myung-bak, allocating hundreds of millions of dollars to standardize recipes, train chefs abroad, and fund international Korean food festivals. The logic was straightforward. When people taste the food, they develop a personal connection to the culture. And a personal connection is far more durable than any advertising campaign. Academics at Seoul National University and institutions like the Korea Rural Economic Institute documented this linkage between food familiarity and broader cultural affinity in the years that followed. The success has created new pressures. As Korean food goes mainstream, authenticity becomes contested. A bowl of Korean fried chicken in London may bear little resemblance to what a grandmother in Busan would recognize. The Korea Food Research Institute has flagged concerns about quality standardization abroad, warning that inconsistent representation could erode the brand over time. There is also a geopolitical dimension. The ongoing dispute with China over the cultural origins of kimchi, which flared sharply after a Chinese state media editorial in 2020 claimed kimchi as a Chinese heritage food, has pushed South Korea to accelerate UNESCO recognition efforts. Kimchi's inclusion on UNESCO's Intangible Cultural Heritage list in 2015 had already helped, but the debate is far from settled, and domestically, the irony is sharp. Younger Koreans are eating less kimchi than any previous generation, according to Statistics Korea consumption surveys. The food is going global precisely as it becomes less central at home. Korea's food export story is not really about food. It is about the architecture of soft power, how a nation can deliberately construct global cultural affinity through sensory experience. Food is uniquely well-suited to this because it bypasses intellectual defenses. You do not debate a bowl of ramen, you either enjoy it or you do not. Other middle-income nations have taken note. Thailand ran a similar government-backed restaurant certification program. Japan invested heavily in promoting washoku as a UNESCO heritage food, but Korea moved faster and combined food with music, film, and drama into a single coherent brand ecosystem. The deeper lesson is this: in a world where hard power is expensive and often counterproductive, the softest power of all may be the one served in a bowl, eaten alone at 2 in the morning in an apartment far from Seoul.